I just saw Toxic Avenger, and I have a lot on my mind. This absurd, obscene, and seemingly time-lost movie actually has a lot of heart, and really improves on the original in a lot of ways. The breakdown begins now. Spoilers are in play. The Toxic Avenger reboot is directed by Macon Blair and produced by the original mad scientists of Troma, Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hertz. Peter Dinklage plays our folk hero Toxie. Kevin Bacon is at his most Kevin Bacon as Bob Garbinger, the scumbag grifter CEO and the main villain of the story. Elijah Wood is his younger brother and the crippled enforcer of his private security, and also answers the question, what would happen if Grima Wormtongue fucked Frodo Baggins and had a love child? Taylour Paige plays the perfect straight woman to his toxic funny man. Some of my favorite parts of the movie come from her dry humor and subtle deadpan takes. And Jacob Tremblay shows up and is just kind of there to remind us that the main character is a stepfather to a broody and boring teenager. So what's the movie about? It's a superhero parody about a downtrodden janitor who gets screwed over by the system one too many times and decides to take things into his own hands. Along the way, he gets shot in the head, dumped in a vat of radioactive health supplement sludge, and he comes back as a deformed, pissed-off, mop-wielding anti-hero. And he does good deeds the Troma way, by disemboweling CEOs, juggalos, and other miscreants and ne'er-do-wells in extraordinarily gory and creative ways. Beneath all the slime and splatter, the Toxic Avenger gets an upgrade at origin story. Instead of a relentlessly bullied nerd who crashes through a window into a vat of toxic waste, he's given a more relatable, inciting incident. Here, Winston is a meek, blue-collar worker, the stepfather of a troubled teen, and still grieving widower to a woman who died of a mysterious disease, probably got from the various supplements that the company he works for puts out. He contracts a terminal brain disease from that same company, but because of some arbitrary health insurance bullshit, he's denied coverage to treat it. Pushed to desperation, he goes and publicly confronts the CEO, again played by Kevin Bacon, for help, and is humiliated and denied in the process. And Winston finally decides to take matters into his own hands by robbing the factory he works at and paying for the meds himself. And this is when he crosses paths with J.J. Doherty, played by Taylour Paige, the protege of a murdered reporter who was hot on the trail of a story about Kevin Bacon's corrupt company. The same thugs who murdered her boss have found her, and Winston in the process. Their stories collide spectacularly. Winston ends up mortally wounded by a pack of Dollar General juggalos and disposed of in a retention pond of health supplement sludge, where he's ultimately transformed into the Toxic Avenger. Right from the jump, Peter Dinklage's character rescues a cat from traffic. It's the classic save the cat. It's a trope that tells us, this is your hero, look at the nice thing he's doing, we can trust this guy. This is a subtle scene that communicates the point in a way that just one and done, we move on from it. But in the Toxic Avenger, Winston saves the cat, and then another guy off screen screams, "He saved the cat!" Just in case you missed it. And that's Troma's whole ethos. They don't just nod at tropes, they bludgeon you to death with them. And this works for me. I love it when a joke is savagely beaten, dragged back up to its feet, and then executed point blank between the eyes while making eye contact. This is what the Toxic Avenger does best. It commits to its bits with psychotic determination. And then comes the violence. We horror fans have seen it all. But Troma still manages to shock by leaning into the specificity of its kills. It's not just gore for gore's sake, although that's like 90% of it. It's the twisted choreography of it all. Like watching Toxie disembowel someone's small intestine directly through their butthole. My jaw dislocated. And I think that's why this movie is worth your time. Troma takes one of horror's most sacred cows, the concept of desensitization, and ritually slaughters it in front of you. And they keep going long past the point of good taste. And when people walk out of screenings, that's proof that Troma still knows what they're doing. They're not afraid to strike nerves that other filmmakers are a bit too squeamish to touch. The Toxic Avenger is a frustrated scream, an angry punk riff that shrieks truth to power and says, enough already. And what good is screaming without somebody to scream at? The Toxic Avenger serves up an all-you-can-eat buffet of villainy, and nobody's wasted, and nobody is filler. Kevin Bacon chews scenery as Bob Garbinger, the platonic ideal of a scumbag grifter CEO. His creepy brother, and he's literally billed as the creepy brother, is played by Elijah Wood, who pulls in a very nuanced performance considering the movie and his role. He commands a rogues gallery of Dollar General juggalos who are also a musical act, and these guys were my low-key favorites. They're like if the gang from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia somehow got transmuted into a murderous monstercore garage band. But here's another thing that horror fans will appreciate. Even the rando bad guys who exist to inflate Toxie's kill count feel distinct. You get preppy douchebags extorting innocent old ladies. You get the Temu Proud Boys who held up the diner. Every ultra-violent encounter feels like a Grindhouse vignette. It actually reminded me a little bit of a beat-em-up video game, where each wave of enemies feels more thematic and intense than the last. It feels like Troma picked the right cultural moment to reboot the Toxic Avenger franchise. Its punk rock ethos has never clashed harder with the powers that be, and that's the point. The original Toxie splattered onto screens smack dab in the middle of the first Reagan administration, a loud and gory rejection of the buttoned-up and conservative homogeny of the 80s. The reboot was filmed in the aftermath of the first Trump administration, and released during the interesting times of its second, a noisy, working-class counterpoint to the glitzy, gaudy, Maro-logified MAGA movement. When the culture goes uptight and authoritarian, it shadowboxes power with the most ludicrously over-the-top weapons imaginable, and it lands each blow. And there's really never been a more fitting mascot for these times than Toxie, who disembowels and mops up the pillars of power, one shitty CEO at a time. The Toxic Avenger is not subtle. It's not safe, and it sure as shit is not polite. It's a sermon in slime, a punk riff in blood and guts, a frustrated scream that echoes enough already. I got a lot out of this movie. My theater was in stitches, and it's not often that a reboot can stick the landing and improve upon the original. So, Jeff's kiss. Go see it. I'm Goblinsburg. Thanks for watching. If you like the content, sub, like, etc. And I will see you in the next one.